I'm going to talk to you about a concept that you might not be familiar with, and that is that there are primary and secondary emotions. I'm going to show you a PowerPoint, which is going to give you a easy way to visualize what I'm talking about. When I explain this, I'm going to use an example that is going to be a married couple. That doesn't mean that it only is for married couples, it's for any relationship. You can even use some understanding of this for yourself, and it will be kind of give you insight into what's going on with other people and also what's going on with you. Okay, so some examples of primary emotions: hurt, sadness, loneliness, anxiousness or anxiety, rejection, feeling unimportant, like you feel passed over or ignored, like you don't matter, a fear of criticism, that you're fearful that somebody will criticize you and it feels overwhelming, disappointment or feeling disappointed. Now, these are examples of things that you would first feel when somebody does something that triggers this feeling. Something happens, the person does something, the person says something, or there's an action, or maybe just it's like just overlooking you, not mentioning you. These are primary emotions that come up first. They come up quick. The problem with primary emotions is that we often ignore them and we go into secondary emotions. We react to the primary emotion. We become angry or we get enraged and we start raging, which is throwing an adult temper tantrum. We use logic and rationale. In other words, we shut down our feelings and we go to our logical brain and we just start trying to figure it all out and rationalizing it without feeling emotion. Or we become very cold and distant and our emotions are shut down and we don't show any type of anything at all. We're just very cold. Complaining is a state where instead of staying in your emotions, you're just voicing, like, I don't like this and I don't want this and this is bad and this is wrong and this should be different. So it's got an emotional component, but it doesn't really own an emotion. Focuses on the problem and what is not okay. Shutting down, that's just literally like, that's kind of like freezing, shutting down, being like, being not being present, being emotionally withdrawn. Um, Irritated, annoyed is a mild form of anger that comes before you become angry and raging. Withdrawing is when you withhold or pull back from the person and maybe you don't engage. You might stonewall, you might not answer, you might withdraw your affection. This is, again, an emotional state that comes as a reaction to feeling something else. And lecturing is when you go into your left brain and you get a feeling into a feeling of superiority and where you are allowed to lecture the person and tell them what they're doing wrong and what they need to do to improve. And it comes from a place of superiority, and it can come as a result of feeling a primary emotion that you're not even thinking about. So I'm going to give you an example. Cindy is married to Ron, and Cindy has asked Ron to call her when he's late coming home from work. Now, this night, Cindy has dinner ready, and she wants to explain, or I mean, she's looking forward to him coming home, and she is noticing the clock is getting a little bit later. And when she realizes he's not called and she had asked him to call and that he's late, she begins to feel hurt. And when we begin to feel any type of threat in a relationship and we start to feel like something could be wrong, we usually do what's a fight or flight, which is the root of some of our secondary emotion or reaction. So in this case, she's feeling hurt, but she's also feeling anxiety, but she's not aware of that anxiety because he's not home. And what could that mean? So she has a choice. She could fight or she could flee. So that's fight or flight that you know about, which is in your autonomic nervous system, which is your lower brain, which is kind of a reactive state, not a thinking state. And unless she keeps herself in her feelings and doesn't allow herself to go into that reactive state, she's going to choose one of those. Now, there is also freeze and fawn, but we're going to keep it simple with fight or flee. So let's say that Ron walks in the door. Well, actually, she chooses to fight, okay? And Ron walks through the door and she yells at him and she's fighting with him. Now, Ron's feeling, he does recognize his feeling of anxiousness when she starts fighting with him. So he has a choice. When she's fighting, that's going to trigger his fight or flight, and he's going to choose to fight or flee. And Ron usually flees. So when she's pursuing him and fighting, he's fleeing. So now we have a situation where, as a result of the primary emotions, the choice that Cindy made was to fight, that Ron is now triggered into his lower brain and he's going to flee. So now she got mad, he walked away, and now they're not eating dinner together and nobody's talking about the real issue. So here's what happened. Her primary emotions, she felt hurt, but really she also felt unloved and disrespected because she asked him to call and he didn't, and that felt disrespectful. She also felt unloved, like he doesn't care, he doesn't love me, he's not letting me know he's going to be late. So she acted out by getting mad and yelling, which is her typical way of responding to these things. Now, when Ron felt that anxiousness, he didn't also realize that he was feeling criticized and he felt, I can't win. Why can't I win? Because I worked hard, I came straight home, I didn't go to the bar, I didn't meet up with my friends. I could have stayed longer after work, but I came home out of the meeting as fast as I could. I hurried home. And so he feels like, I can't win. She's mad anyway. So when he feels those things, he gets angry and says, forget it. And he walks away. So he leaves. He's gone. And now neither one is talking about the problem, and they're both upset. They're both angry. They both react differently. She yells, he walks away. She fights, he flees. And here they are acting out their secondary emotions, and nobody's talking about the primary emotions, feeling hurt, uncared for, disrespected, feeling criticized, feeling like you can't win, feeling anxious when you're yelled at. So here's what you can do with this situation. Anytime that you've got triggered feelings, somebody does something, you want to try to talk about the feelings below the line as they come up, and you actually want to try to keep yourself in the feelings below the line, within yourself first, recognizing I have to stay there. I've got to know that when I go into fight or flight, that I'm above the line, I'm reacting. But if you do go above the line, you want to recognize when you're above the line and stop yourself as soon as possible, whether it's right then or whether it's going away, thinking about it, coming back. Don't excuse going above the line. Don't say, well, you yelled at me, you were late, you made me. No, apologize, take responsibility, and then come back and talk below the line. This is what they would be doing if they talked below the line. Even after it happened where they both got mad, start there, because it's really hard to recognize this first and keep yourself below the line at the beginning. After a while, you can get much better at it. So let's say she recognized, okay, I feel hurt. Okay, well, why do I feel hurt? I also I felt uncared for and I felt disrespected. So instead of going above the line and yelling, she stayed below the line, and she talked to him and she said, glad that you're home. Maybe even asked him what happened, like, why are you late? Giving him an opportunity to explain, which is always a good idea. And she says, I felt hurt. I felt like you disrespected me when you didn't call. Why didn't you call? And he says, oh, I feel anxious when you're mad at me for not calling, or I feel criticized, or I feel I can't win no matter how hard I try to get home. You're still hurt. You still don't feel like I care. I tried really hard. Or maybe he doesn't even have to talk about those feelings below the line, the primary emotions, because by her explaining she was hurt and felt uncared for, disrespected, he's going to explain why he didn't call, and then she's going to feel okay. And then they're still going to have a dinner. Maybe his phone didn't work, or his battery died, or his boss kept him on the phone the whole way home. He's going to maybe explain to where she'll feel, I get it, right? So if you can stay below the line or go back below the line after you have a reaction, then you can sort out what happened, and things will be, you can heal them, you can repair them, and you can also both get insight into your patterns that you have in the relationship, and you can recognize what happens with the other person. And maybe you can even pull the person below the line saying, hey, can we talk about what started this? And you could say, I know I got mad at you. How did you feel when I did that? Or could we go back and maybe he could say, whoa, I know when you're mad, that means that you're hurt. Something, what hurt you? Like what was wrong? What happened first? What did I do? What did I do? Instead of reacting and saying, well, when you yell at me, I'm getting out of here. And then this pattern won't come back up. So the application is to pay attention to your primary emotions to improve your relationships. And again, this is for any relationship. It could be a adult child, it could be parent, it could be sibling, it could be friend, it could be boss, it could be coworker, anyone. It could be ex-spouse, like knowing when you're above the line and how to stay below the line and how to pull somebody below the line to get back to a productive discussion. One of my favorite scriptures, Isaiah 1:18, says, come now and let us reason together, says the Lord. Though your sins are as scarlet, they will be as white as snow. Though they are red like crimson, they will be like wool. Why do I love that? Because I'm a therapist. And God is saying, let us reason together. And that's what you do in therapy. That's what you do in a relationship when you're trying to figure out what happened and why. You're curious about each other. You want to learn what's going on with the other person and why is the other person reacting that way? Why are you reacting that way? And as you learn about each other and you learn about yourself, you're able to grow and you're able to heal and you're able to establish vulnerability and communication. And out of that comes intimacy and closeness and feeling like mutual caring and mutual understanding. And there's just so many possibilities that are good that come out of that. So if this resonates with you, watch it again, think about it, try it the next time, even if you have to do it yourself, kind of think it through and think, what is it that is going on with me? And what do I think might be going on with the other person? So hopefully this will help you and you will be able to get some practical guidance from it for your relationship. Thank you for watching this video. Thank you for listening to this podcast. And I just ask, if you have a question, please feel free to email me at carla@changedmyrelationship.com. Please look at my classes, my resources. There's so much help for you at just such a reasonable cost. I basically do it for almost nothing because I want to see you grow. I want to pour into your life. So God bless you. Thank you.